Marcus Reed's wire cutters sliced through the brake line at exactly 4:47 p.m. Brake fluid sprayed across his hands, hot and slick. He didn't stop, didn't hesitate, just kept cutting until the line severed completely, then slid out from under the Mercedes before anyone could see what he'd done. His toolbox was still open. His hands were shaking. 60 feet away, in the customer lounge, Millionaire CEO Rachel Donovan was signing her service receipt, about to walk out and get in this car. Marcus had worked at Premier Motors for 3 years, never been late, never made a mistake, never done anything that would risk his daughter's future. Until now. He wiped his hands on his coveralls, but the brake fluid wouldn't come off. Evidence. Clear, damning, career-ending evidence. The security cameras had captured everything. In about 90 seconds, his life was going to be over. 50 feet away, Rachel pushed through the glass doors, her heels clicking on the polished showroom floor. She had her keys in her hand, her phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't looking at Marcus. Wealthy people never looked at mechanics. 40 feet. Marcus watched her coming. He could run right now, take Lily and disappear before security checked the footage. They were already 3 months behind on rent. What difference did it make if they ran? 30 feet. But he didn't move. Just stood there next to her car, brake fluid drying on his palms, waiting for what came next. Rachel clicked her key fob. The Mercedes chirped. The locks disengaged. She opened the driver's door, still on the phone, barely glancing at Marcus as she slid behind the wheel. The engine purred to life. She put it in drive. Marcus held his breath. The car rolled forward. 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet toward the parking lot exit and the highway beyond. Then Rachel pressed the brake pedal. Nothing happened. The car kept rolling, her foot slamming down harder, her phone dropping from her hand, her voice cutting off mid-sentence as she realized something was catastrophically wrong. The Mercedes hit the decorative concrete barrier at 5 miles per hour with a sound like crushed aluminum. The airbag didn't deploy. The car stopped. Rachel was thrown forward against her seatbelt, gasping, her hands locked on the steering wheel. For 3 seconds, there was total silence in the showroom. Then someone screamed, "Call 911!" Security was already running. The service manager, Todd Vickers, sprinted from his office, his face white, and Rachel Donovan turned in her seat, her eyes finding Marcus through the windshield. He was still standing there, brake fluid on his hands, wire cutters visible in his open toolbox, watching her. Their eyes met for 1 second. Marcus saw the exact moment she understood, the exact moment rage replaced shock. 2 security guards grabbed him before he could speak. Todd was shouting orders, checking Rachel, calling the police. Marcus didn't fight, didn't resist. Just let them pull his arms behind his back, let them push him down onto the showroom floor, let them cuff his wrists while expensive shoes stepped around him and voices overlapped in panic and accusation. Rachel climbed out of her car, shaking but unhurt. She walked straight toward Marcus, her shadow falling across his face. "What did you do to my car?" Her voice was ice. Marcus looked up at her. This woman whose life had just changed in ways she couldn't possibly understand yet. This woman who was about to have him arrested. This woman who had no idea she was supposed to be dead. "Check the master cylinder," he said quietly, "before you drive anything else." "What?" "Just check it, please." Rachel's hand was already pulling her phone out. "I'm calling my lawyer. I'm calling the police. You're going to prison for this." "I know," Marcus said. Because he did know. He'd known the moment he picked up those wire cutters. Known exactly what this would cost him. Known that saving her life meant destroying his own. The police arrived 7 minutes later. Rachel gave her statement, calm and clear and absolutely certain. "That mechanic sabotaged my brakes. I want him charged with attempted murder." Marcus was loaded into the back of a patrol car, and as they pulled away from Premier Motors, he looked back one time. Rachel was standing in the parking lot, arms crossed, watching him go. She thought she knew what had happened. She had no idea. The holding cell at the 18th District Station smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Marcus sat on the metal bench, his coverall still stained with brake fluid, and thought about Lily. She was at aftercare right now. Mrs. Chen from downstairs was supposed to pick her up at 6. It was 5:23. He had 37 minutes before his daughter realized something was wrong. He'd called Mrs. Chen from the station phone, told her he'd be late, didn't tell her why, didn't tell her he might not be coming home at all. The detective who interviewed him was a woman in her 40s named Sarah Kovacs. She had tired eyes and a recorder that she placed on the table between them with deliberate precision. "Walk me through it," she said. Marcus told her everything. About finding the car on his service rotation, about the brake inspection, about what he'd found under the chassis that shouldn't have been there. "You're saying someone else tampered with the brakes first?" Kovacs asked. "Yes. And you decided to cut them yourself to..." "What?" "Save her life. To make them fail safely, in the parking lot instead of on the highway." Kovacs wrote something in her notebook. Her pen moved slowly, like she was choosing her words carefully. "That's an interesting story. It's the truth. Ms. Donovan says you've never worked on her car before today. She says she doesn't know you. Why would anyone want to kill her?" Marcus had been asking himself the same question. "I don't know, but they did. And if you don't check that master cylinder, you're going to miss it. We'll check everything." Kovacs closed her notebook. "But right now, Mr. Reed, the evidence is pretty clear. Security footage shows you under her vehicle. Your tools cut the brake line. She crashes. That's attempted murder in Illinois. Then charge me." "We will. But I'm curious about something." She leaned forward. "You've got a daughter, 7 years old. You're 3 months behind on rent. Your employer says you've been asking about overtime, about advancement, about anything that pays more. You're desperate for money. And then a millionaire's car ends up in your bay, and you sabotage it. Maybe hoping for a settlement. Maybe hoping she'd pay you to keep quiet about shoddy maintenance. Maybe just angry at people who have everything while you have nothing." Marcus looked at her. "If I wanted money, I would have let her die and sued the dealership for putting me in that position. I'd have evidence that I reported a problem and was ignored. That's worth millions in liability." Kovacs' pen stopped moving. "Instead," Marcus continued, "I destroyed my career and got myself arrested to save someone I've never met. Does that sound like someone looking for a payday? It sounds like someone with a more complicated plan." "Check the master cylinder," Marcus said for the 3rd time. "Please." At 6:15 p.m., Mrs. Chen picked up Lily from aftercare. The little girl was carrying her backpack and a drawing she'd made in art class. A picture of her and her dad at the park, holding hands, smiling. Mrs. Chen took her upstairs to their apartment, fed her dinner, helped her with homework, and didn't say anything about where Marcus was. She didn't know herself. By 7:30, Lily was asking questions. "When's Daddy coming home?" "Soon, sweetheart." "Is he working late?" Something like that. Lily's insulin injection was due at 8. Mrs. Chen had helped with it before, but she was nervous. Marcus always handled the medical stuff. He'd taught himself everything about type 1 diabetes when Lily was diagnosed 3 years ago, learning to calculate carbs and doses and correction factors with the precision of a pharmacist. Mrs. Chen called Marcus's phone. It went straight to voicemail. At Premier Motors, Rachel Donovan was still in the customer lounge, waiting for her lawyer and trying to calm down. Her hands had stopped shaking, but the adrenaline was still there, sharp and electric under her skin. Todd Vickers brought her coffee. "Ms. Donovan, I am so sorry. We've never had anything like this happen. Reed seemed like a solid employee, quiet, reliable. I had no idea he was capable of—" "I want a full investigation," Rachel interrupted. "I want to know how someone like that passed your background checks. I want to know what oversight you have on your service bay. And I want a complete inspection of every system on that car before it leaves this lot." "Of course. Absolutely. Not by anyone on your staff. I'm bringing in an independent forensic mechanic. Someone who actually knows what they're doing." Todd's face flushed. "Ms. Donovan, I understand you're upset, but our technicians are fully certified. Your technician just tried to murder me. We don't know that for sure. He might have been confused, or... Rachel stood up. Get me the police report. Get me the security footage, and get that car into a bay where nobody touches it until my people arrive. She walked outside, needing air, needing space. Her Mercedes was still sitting against the concrete barrier, looking almost normal except for the crumpled front bumper. Such a small impact. She'd barely felt it. If she'd been going faster, if she'd been on the highway like she'd planned. Her phone rang. Her assistant, Julie. Where are you? The board meeting started 10 minutes ago. Rachel had completely forgotten. I'm dealing with an emergency. Tell them to start without me. Keith already did. He said you called him about a delay. Rachel frowned. She hadn't called Keith. Put him on. A moment later, Keith Ashford's smooth voice came through the line. Rachel, are you okay? Julie said there was an emergency. Someone sabotaged my car. Silence. Then, carefully. What? My brakes were cut. I crashed in the dealership parking lot. My God, are you hurt? No, it was low speed. I'm fine. Who did this? One of the mechanics. The police have him. More silence. Then Keith said, Listen, I don't want you driving anywhere alone until we know what this is about. Let me send a car for you. My driver's available. I'm fine, Keith. Rachel, someone just tried to kill you. You're not fine. Let me help. She wanted to argue, but he was right. Her hands were shaking again just thinking about getting into another car. Okay, thank you. I'll have him there in 20 minutes. And Rachel, we need to talk about the Meridian acquisition. The deadline is Friday. If something's going on, if someone's trying to stop this deal, we'll talk tomorrow. She ended the call and looked back at her car. Something was bothering her. Something the mechanic had said. Check the master cylinder. Why would he say that? If he'd sabotaged the brakes himself, why tell her to check anything? Why not just stay quiet? Let her blame faulty maintenance, take his chances in court. She called her lawyer, then called the forensic mechanic she'd used before. A woman named Angela Torres, who'd helped prove a competitor's product defect case 2 years ago. I need you at Premier Motors in downtown Chicago. Tonight, I need a full brake system analysis. What am I looking for? Angela asked. I don't know, Rachel said, but I need you to find it. At 10:47 p.m., Detective Kovacs walked into the holding area where Marcus was waiting for processing. She had a different expression now. Not tired, alert. We checked the master cylinder, she said. Marcus looked up. You were right. There's evidence of tampering. Sophisticated tampering. Someone modified the ABS module and installed a secondary pressure valve that would fail under specific conditions. High speed, sustained braking, heat buildup. It was designed to look like mechanical failure. Marcus felt something release in his chest. Not relief. Not vindication. Just the confirmation that he'd seen what he thought he'd seen. The forensic mechanic says whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't some amateur job. And your cut, Kovacs continued. Your cut prevented the original sabotage from activating. You actually saved her life. So you're releasing me? We're still investigating. But you're no longer our primary suspect. Someone else tried to kill Rachel Donovan. Someone with access to her vehicle and the technical expertise to pull this off. We need to figure out who. Todd Vickers, Marcus said immediately. The service manager. When I tried to tell him about the problems I found, he shut me down. Told me to stop wasting time. He didn't want me looking too closely. Kovacs wrote this down. We'll talk to him. And you need to warn Miss Donovan. Whoever did this isn't going to stop just because the first attempt failed. We're assigning protection. She's been informed. Marcus stood up. Can I go home now? My daughter's waiting for me. Kovacs hesitated. You're free to leave, but Mr. Reed, don't leave the city. We're going to need you to testify about what you found, and there's a chance whoever's behind this knows you can identify their work.